Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to another live conversation, another live chat with us. Today, joining us, we are honored to have our brother Tahir Imin, the head of Uyghur Times and the head of UNNTV. He today will be discussing who he is, the work he does, and the most recent up-to-date uh, news regarding the Uyghur people of Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. Welcome, Mr. Tahir Imin, and thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Brother Tahir Imin, first of all, let's just start off with who you are and what you do.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. My name is Tahir Imin. I am currently a human rights activist and journalist, a founder of Uyghur Times news agency and the UNNTV. We have been working on the raising awareness about what's going on in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. We have more than 12 branches, German, English, Turkish, Chinese, Arabic, Japanese. We have more than 100 volunteers around the world. So we collect data and translate all of them into different languages and broadcast the documents and reports, news reports in our different language channels. So our main focused issue is to report. So we are one of the Uyghur focused news agency.
Yes, I can see, and I'm showing people the work that you guys do. Obviously, the news that you guys produce is different from mainstream media. Could you just tell us why the work that you do is so important and why the news should be coming from a Uyghur's perspective or from a Uyghur voice, besides the voices that we get from mainstream media? Yes.
Yes, we are very different from other mainstream media because, first of all, they have a lot of topics to cover, and they focus economics, politics, and business and entertainment, culture of different people and countries around the world. But we as Uyghurs, we know what's going on to our people, what the Chinese government is doing against the peaceful and civilized Uyghurs, and we have experienced. Most of us have experience with Chinese treatment as the genocidal policy against Uyghur people. So we are familiar with the Chinese policy, and we are familiar with the situation. We are Uyghurs, so it's very important to cover and disseminate the news in perspective of Uyghur people, because we can represent the true voice of Uyghur people without depending any political side or any national interest like European countries or Middle Eastern countries or America. We just Uyghurs, we need to send a true message from Uyghur perspective.
Obviously, there's a drive behind what you do. There is a reason. You don't do this for no reason. Could you give our audience your own personal story and the drive that has turned you into the Uyghur activist you are today?
Yes, I was born and grown up in Kashgar, southern part of East Turkestan, where most population are the devoted Muslims. So my family is not a traditional Muslim, but they respectful to Islamic traditions. So after graduation after graduating from the high school, I joined religious school and learned a lot the hadith and other Islamic traditions from the underground madrasa. We call it madrasa. It's illegal according to Chinese law at that time still, and still it's illegal according to Chinese current political system. So at that time After that, because I have worked as a religious, one of the religious guides by teaching the hadith and the fiqh and the tafsir, I was arrested and put in jail. It was 2001. I was released by bailing out. My father and my family members have paid a lot to bail me out. And in 2004, I wrote an article titled "The Uyghur Culture in Danger." Then Chinese Communist Party arrested me and put me in jail for more than 2 years. I was put in a detention center in Urumqi. It was called in Chinese. It's called in Chinese as Tianshan Kanshuso. I spent 14 months in a very small room with more than 12 Han Chinese criminals. All of them hate Uyghurs. I'm not allowed to speak Uyghur. I'm not allowed to say anything other than that. Yes, I am here. Just they call my name, I would say yes, and they order me to do something. I would say yes. That was the only two words I was allowed to say when I was in jail for more than 14 months in Tangertag, Tianshan Kanshuso, the Tangertag detention center. Then I was sent to a Shiho Laojiuso. It is a re-education camp at that time, a system that was abolished in 2011, according to Chinese National Congress. So I was put in jail for more than 2 times, and I have experience in different kinds of Chinese torture and treatment and interrogation and their hatred against the Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in our homeland. So after I was released from the camp in 2009. I have started my own business as a translation company, Tahir Translation Agency, and until 2017, when I left the region, I have worked as an entrepreneur and a cultural activist. So we have formed Uyghur Knowledge Forum. We have invited a lot of scholars to give lectures to people from different backgrounds. And we have formed 30 Gentlemen Business Club. We had more than 2,000 Uyghur business leaders from different cities and prefectures of our homeland. We helped young people to start their own business. And also, as a successful business owner, I have set up a new scholarship and a prize for female postgraduates, Uyghur female postgraduates. I have my company, the Uighur International, has given more than 1 million RMB to Uyghur students from 2012 to 2016. So when I was there, we tried our best to raise the Uyghur, to promote the Uyghur identity, to preserve Uyghur culture. And 2009, I have put forward a new idea to have a Uyghur double cultural festival, a kind of cultural promotion event. Requires all of the Uyghurs to wear their traditional hats and show the world that we are unified, we have a civilized, we have a peaceful culture and identity. And that was one of the successful events we have curated in East Turkestan. Yes, and I left East Turkestan February 2017 after the Chen Chuangguo, new secretary boss, was replaced by Chinese Communist Party from his former previous position in Tibet. And our advisors, especially my friends, have advised me to leave the region as soon as possible, because we all of very prominent Uyghur intellectuals, activists, and journalists have persecuted by him, by his policy. So I was advised by my friends to leave, and I chosen to study the Palestinian and the Israeli relationship, and I chosen to study at Haifa University, and I had a lot of great opportunity to understand and to visit the very holy places, and understand the culture and the history of two people in the Middle East. And then in May of 2017, Chinese Communist Party asked me to go back to China, and I decided to come to United States, because at the time I knew if I went back to China, they would put me in jail or a concentration camp. After I came to United States, my family, my wife, and my other family members was targeted by Chinese Communist Party. My wife was demanded by them to divorce me, and so since then, since 2018, I wasn't able to speak to my daughter and my wife, and get any information from my family members. Rather than that, my mother and my brother was sentenced up to 15 years. Yes, since then I started my activism, and yeah, here I am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Obviously, as a journalist, I do want your perspective on a few issues that have been recently coming to light. First of all, you've shared on your Twitter the recent Uyghur bill that I believe Trump is about to sign, or I'm getting news he has already signed. What is the message that the United States is giving to China by bringing forward such a bill?
First of all, the United States government and Congress, that the Trump administration is sending a message to Chinese Communist Party that stop the genocide, a peaceful, civilized nation, and we stand with Uyghurs, and the world is watching. The United States is watching what the Chinese Communist Party is doing against the Uyghur people. So this is a big message to Chinese Communist Party, not only China, but also to the whole world. And all of the countries should stand up for a people like Uyghurs and Kazakhs. And it's also a good message to Muslim world. United States stands with United States as a country with rule of law, democracy, and freedom, stand with Uyghurs. And the United States doesn't claim that it's a country for all of the Muslims, but it claims that it's a country of freedom, human rights, and dignity for all of the people. So it's a good message for the Muslim world. We stand with Uyghurs as American. Why don't you stand with your own brothers as a Muslim and human being? That is a very important message to China and other rest of the world, especially the Muslim nations. It's a very important message.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Trump himself outwardly says pretty much that he doesn't really like Muslims, he doesn't like Islam, but for him to be putting on such support for a predominantly Muslim population is is very sad, because the Muslim world technically should be holding onto the reins of this, but we are seeing this action. Where do you see this bill once it does get passed into law? Do you see this bill, doing anything? How will China react? Will this be positive for the Uyghurs? Where do you see the near future?
First of all, it's very symbolic and practical, actual significance for Uyghurs, because it will send a message, and China would take it. China would understand that if we continue, the persecution of the Muslims, the world would react to it, and they would take notice. This is very important. Secondly, the United States government would try to their best to help the Uyghur organizations, as the law mentioned, like the RFA News Agency and other Uyghur human rights policy, Uyghur Human Rights Project, and other Uyghur groups who are working on behalf of Uyghurs. And it can also help the Uyghur students in the United States whose family members cannot send any money to those students who are studying in the United States. And it can also help the Uyghurs get the asylum, the political asylum in the United States. It is very helpful. It at some level it helps us to get our voices heard by a lot of nations around the world, because once it gets into law, the people would recognize the Uyghurs as a very persecuted, oppressed nation, and it is documented, it's approved, it's confirmed, it's convinced case, not only claims by some of the Uyghur activists and some of the people whose family members are detained. So we can say that it's actually historical and very significant case for Uyghurs.
Great. I'm going to get some comments here from our viewers and I love these comments. We love to play devil's advocate, and this is a comment that we normally get. I saw somewhere where the reason they do the Uyghurs are to prevent terrorism from going. What's your perspective? So this notion that China is putting all these Uyghurs into these camps is because to stop terrorism. What is your view on this?
First of all, the Chinese government claim all of the people, not only Uyghurs, the other Tibetans, Hong Kongers, Mongolians, who stand up against the Chinese genocidal policy and human rights abuses. So it's not new for the watchers, observers, to see that Chinese government use it to blackmail all of the activists and the dissidents as a terrorists. Last year, a Chinese Communist Party claimed the Hong Kongers as a terrorists. So this is first my reaction. Secondly, the Chinese Communist Party, especially the local authorities in the south of East Turkestan, and they have been trying all their best to oppress the Uyghurs. And when Uyghurs try to send the message to upper level government and the complaint about the local government's policies, no one in upper level hear and support those people's plight. So no one understand and hear those Uyghurs' plight. The world didn't react, and they didn't care, didn't hear, and the Chinese government didn't hear. So those Uyghurs stand up and took their own way. And that, in that case, the Chinese Communist Party made a propaganda claiming that those people are terrorists. So this is the violent reaction to Chinese atrocities are claimed as terrorist actions. This is my second reason and reaction to that claim. Thirdly, the Chinese government took advantage of the world's hatred against the terrorists like ISIS and other very all people agreed terrorist organizations like Boko Haram, and the Chinese government used that opportunity to blackmail the Uyghur cause to get more political and political rights and human rights and very basic freedom. So we can understand that it's not new, and the Chinese always do that, not only for Uyghurs but other dissidents.
Yeah, so another comment here pretty much sums up what you said. They mentioned that the camp is for education. so that the people won't end up as terrorists. If it's true, why do they need to separate families? Uyghurs need to not even stay over the camp. The Uyghur can still live a long life. And just even for us on the outside, we cannot contact our loved ones. What kind of camp is this? What kind of school is this where you can't even contact your loved ones still? And another comment here saying even the Palestinians under the Israeli government allows them to still practice their religion, still talk their language.
Yeah.
And Dr. Zakir Naik, you would know, said the worst oppressed Muslims in the world are Uyghur Muslims. It cannot be
Yeah, of
compared.
course. Yes, the Chinese government not only targeting the religious identity of Uyghur people, but also the ethnic and the cultural identity of us. The Chinese government has arrested like the dean and the presidents of the prominent universities like Xinjiang University, Xinjiang Medical University, Agricultural University, Kashgar University, Hoten Teachers College. All of those prominent professors and teachers in those education institutions are persecuted and detained. And most of them, like journalists, artists, and all of them are not religious people. According to Chinese law and current political system, the people who work in the Chinese government are not allowed to practice any religion. So those people are not terrorists. Those people are not, they're even not religious, because Chinese government have been educating those Uyghurs for more than 70 years for not believing or practicing any religion, because the Chinese education and the propaganda system have been teaching the whole society that any religion is a catastrophe, a disaster. It's like war. Not only the system, only education, and only the atheist system is only way out of the poverty. So Chinese government doesn't care any religion or any basic rights for those people. The people we have been talking about, like Abdul Qadir Jalaluddin, Yalkun Rozi, and my friend Ablajan, and a lot of people, those people are not religious. Those people are not terrorists. And the information we have been getting from the region, from more than 3 million Uyghur people, like more than 3 million Uyghur people have been arrested. And we believe that if it's fact, if a country has more than 3 million terrorists, what could happen? If there are 3 million terrorists in the world, what could happen? There is no other nation can defend themselves from 3 million terrorists, but China did it. And we are not talking about from our own perspective or viewpoints, so people could suspect what we the authenticity of what we are saying, because we are Uyghurs. But what we are saying is based on academic reports and very authentic and confirmed news reports from mainstream media like New York Times, Washington Post, Guardian, BBC. So we are very sure that the Chinese government handling is dealing with the most horrible and terrible atrocities in human history. The most, and it also has a very Chinese characteristics, like they can cover up all of the things they are doing. This is Chinese characteristics, because they do all the time, like they have been doing about the coronavirus. So they cover up everything. Secondly, they they have very good advanced technology to do anything that the world doesn't know and doesn't understand, even can't imagine. Because if you live in a system, in a society that your every moment, every speech are being surveilled by a big brother for 24 hours, you cannot do anything. You cannot speak out what's going on to you and your family. And this is surveillance and monitoring and controlling any information, because you cannot talk to your friends or journalists or your family members who are living abroad. So this is a controlling the messaging and blocking the media. A third, the Chinese government also cooperating with the mobilizing all of the Chinese population, like the normal Han Chinese can get benefit from Chinese policy against the Uyghur people. So they very much support you. They are very much supportive of the Chinese policy against Uyghur people, because they can marry beautiful Uyghur girls, because those no one can protect those people. According to economics, the British prominent news media agency, economists, that the Chinese population, especially the men, there are more than 63 million Han Chinese men more than female, because Han Chinese, after the family planning system policy, all of the Han Chinese, they didn't want to get the baby girls. They hate the baby girls. They just prefer the male children to women. So they have a surplus of 63 million of Han Chinese. So they have trying to get married to other nations in Central Asia, the Kazakhstan, Pakistan. The Uyghurs are inside of the Chinese territory at this moment. So they saw this a very great opportunity to force the Uyghur women to marry Han Chinese. And so the Chinese population are getting a great benefit. They can take over the Uyghur business. They can take over the properties who left behind those people detained in the concentration camp. So Chinese government, this is third characteristic of Chinese genocide. They mobilized all of the Han Chinese to support their policy against the Uyghur people. Yes.
Okay. And as you mentioned, these people that are being locked up are educated people. I mean, you've shared on your Twitter here, for example, Miss Gulshan Abbas, the sister of Uyghur activist Rushan Abbas. And here is her daughter, who is currently residing in the United States, asking for her mum's freedom because she simply can't even make a phone call to her mother. So it's really sickening. I've got another question here, asking, what's the stance against China from Arab nations?
Okay. The Uyghur Times news agency have tried to contact with the Arab brothers and sisters in Muslim nations since 2018. We have got a lot of support and a very good the efforts from brothers and sisters in Palestine, Libya, and Qatar, also United Emirates. But those people are not representatives of their countries, and those brothers and sisters are ordinary people. So far, only Qatar government, they have withdrawn their support to Chinese policy and their endorsement to supporting China's policy against the Uyghur people in 2019, last year. Other than that, we didn't see any other countries, not only Arab brothers, but also other Muslim nations. Even the Malaysian government, Indonesian government, and other Turkish government are not very openly vocal about the issue. But we have so much scholars and religious leaders, the journalists, the lawyers, and in those countries have stood up and supported the Uyghur cause. So first of all, when you ask me why those countries are not supportive of Uyghur people, I can answer. First of all, the Chinese government are very proactively trying their best to persuade those countries at the United Nations, because first of all, they have very good business relations, and those countries, authoritarian regimes, they also need the Chinese support when it comes to their rebellions and the other the political activism against their authoritarian regime. Third of all, those countries, the governments, they are not even they even don't care about the human rights in their own nations. Like Saudi Arabia, we know a lot about what's going on in this country. Like Iran, we know what the Iranian regime did to their own people. And there are a lot of other nations like Pakistan, and they have also their own the problem. But it's not the case for all of the Muslim countries. They can stand up, they can say something at least there. First of all, that is not only their Islamic duty, brotherhood, to say something. Like our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the absolute jihad, the best jihad is to say the truth in front of an oppressor, in front of an oppressor. So if you are not if you are not able to do something, you just let the people say on behalf of your country, of your government. It's so easy. If you stand, other people could stand, a lot of people can stand, and there would be a Muslim solidarity. And the Western countries, the other people cannot say that is a Muslim hypocrisy. So we are holding that, the Muslim nations are holding that claim so far. They have to carry out their very basic duty as a human being. We Uyghur Muslim cannot we cannot offer anything to United States. We cannot offer anything to European nations like Canada, Western nations like Canada, Germany, United Kingdom. Those people stood up, wrote letters, and criticized the Chinese government and asked the United Nations to send investigation delegation to the region. Those people are not getting anything from us. Those people did what is supposed to be. So I think it's not very hard to be a true speaker.
Okay. Recently, since we're on the topic of, say, Muslim countries, Turkey is very interesting in recent times because we are not just religiously intertwined with Turkey, we are also culturally intertwined with them. There is an extradition bill, an agreement between Turkey and China, which hasn't been passed in the parliament, but soon will be. What do you think about this bill, and what are the implications of the Uyghurs in Turkey because of this?
First of all, I'm not law expert. I I am not very familiar with the whole content of that extradition bill, to be honest. But according to a very authentic news agency like Axios and other news platform, the Turkish government has an agreement with the Chinese People's Republic of China to extradite any criminals from Turkey to China. As we know, they are not the Chinese population, not Chinese population in Turkey. So, and the Chinese are very cautious when it comes to carry any criminal actions in foreign countries. They know it. So it is very specifically targeted the Uyghur people. Even they did not mention the name of the Uyghurs, but also the citizens of two countries. Citizens of two countries. They refer to Uyghurs who came from China, and they are not still Turkish citizens who are living according to some legal procedures. So I think it's very dangerous a move by Turkish government to sign such an agreement under international law, because if you have an agreement with a criminal, the criminal only asks you to be complicit in his criminal. Chinese government is a genocide perpetrator. So what they are asking you to do is just be complicit in their crime. against the humanity. And there are so much Uyghurs in Turkey, and Turkish government has been supportive of Uyghur diaspora for the last 70 years. We are very grateful, thankful, our Turkish brothers and sisters. But recently, Turkish government has been going through a very harsh economic situation, and the Chinese government knew this, and they try to offer their financial support to the Turkish government. So Turkish government uh, has uh, has a tendency to be supportive, to be cooperative with the Chinese policy against the Uyghurs. Uh, we understand it, but we hope the Turkish government to stand as a brothers of Uyghur people, as we have very strong traditional, historical, cultural, and ethnic ties, linguistic ties, and religious ties. And we both speak Turkish language. We both have historical ties from very ancient times, from Orhun, from Mengütaş era. No one can deny it. We Uyghurs speak Turkish language. We have very strong ties. So Turkish people should remember one word our very long ancestors have wrought in Mengütaş, that my children never come close to Chinese. Chinese, they could provide you, they could offer you beautiful horses, beautiful grass, beautiful land. But after that, they will arrest you, they will beat you, they will kill you, they will take over your own land. This is 2,000 year long, 2000 more than 15 centuries long advice from our own ancestors. Those people are Turkish. Those people, our ancestors, has advised us not to come close to China. So we ask the Turkish, our brothers sisters, awake and realize the real nature. The Chinese, okay, the Turkish brothers and sisters can extradite Uyghurs to China, but after some time, the Chinese would get a strong hold in Turkish territory. Like they would have great market, they would invest in very critical business sectors like telecommunication and military and other businesses. And Turkish people would depend on their Chinese money. At that time, you would not have your own independent diplomacy as it started now. The independent country which should have its own independent diplomacy. What is independence? You should have your own military. You should have your own monetary system. You should have your own diplomacy. But if you don't have own independent diplomacy, you are an independent country. Right now, the Kazakhstan, the Pakistan, and other countries like Tajikistan, Afghanistan, those countries are not independent anymore because they listen to what the Chinese government are doing, what they are saying. If they want, like I talked to ambassador of Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan in Washington D.C., and those people told me that, brother Tahir, we are brothers and sisters. We respect your activism. We understand your situation, but we have no choice because our big brother Russia and China are teaching us, are those countries are guiding us to what they are going to do. So our government is not independent anymore. Those people are saying that it very clearly. So if the Turkish government and other Muslim countries continue to cooperate with China, they will lose their independence. So to be independent, you should be strong. This is very political lesson. If you want to be independent, you should develop your own economy. You should develop your own technology. You should develop your own military. Three things: the money, military, and technology. You should, any Muslim country, if if you want to be independent, if you want to be strong, you should develop the three things, and you could say whatever you want, whatever you could do, whatever you like, like cooperate with Western countries or cooperate with very poor nations in Africa or Latin America and do some justice for the oppressed people. So I mean, this, uh, at some cases, that is not the faults or faults of their governments, but also the faults of their own the population. Because if you are not hardworking people, if you are not uh, diligent, if you are not good educated, if you don't want to study good technology, you would lose everything. You would lose everything. So to help us, you should help yourself first.
Mhm.
First, help yourself. Right now, we believe Allah with us, but you can ignore, you can neglect our case, but in the next 10 or 12 years, you would lose a lot. You would lose your own independency if you don't take actions, if you don't try to be strong. Yes, that's my answer.
Okay, final question. What's the future for you? I mean, we've seen your advocacy work, we've seen the work that you do. What is in store for you? What is your plan, and how do you intend to put up the fight with the Chinese regime in the near future?
I have a lot of plan for my personal life and political career, and during the last 3.5 years, I didn't have any personal life. I didn't marry. I didn't start any business. I didn't uh, work for my personal life. I just tried to my best to work for my people. So I would continue my activism because I believe that if I was in my homeland, I would be in prison. I would be dead for a lot of reasons, a lot of activists that I have done. So I would continue my activism and try my best to be voice of my voiceless people, because my people are very nice, very beautiful, very kind people. They are very hospitable people. If any nations had experience to contact, to be in touch with my people, they would have understand that we are very hospitable uh, people. We treat all of the people around the world as our friends and brothers and sisters, even the people who don't have a same religious belief. My family members, my people, my friends, all of them are very great people. So I took everything, the good heart, uh, the care, everything from my parents, from my friends. So I will continue until the uh, last uh, 1 minute of my life. So uh, I will try a lot. Uh, I will establish one of the very important news media uh, uh, agencies in Muslim world, and I will continue and research and academic work. Also, one day I would try to do my best to cooperate with other Uyghur groups and continue the best group uh, to get independence and to get freedom.
Okay, with that, Brother Imtiaz has thanked me and you. I would also like to thank you very much for spending your time giving us your insights on what's happening to the Uyghur Muslims of Chinese occupied Turkestan. Do you have any last words? And then we can close the show here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's a good opportunity for me to send a message for your audiences. And I hope all of our audience at least do one thing, just uh, send our message to your own friends and your community. Let more people understand Chinese nature. My message is China is not our friend. China is the enemy of the whole world.
Exactly. China is the enemy of the whole world, regardless of whether you are left or you're right, or you're religious or non-religious, you are atheist, you are Muslim, you are Christian. Just the mere fact, the way that they have dealt with the CCP virus, the Chinese virus, should be an example, should be a clue as to what China has for the world, is to take over the world and to oppress our freedoms and our speech. And literally, they have killed, especially the country you are currently residing in, Tahir. 100,000 Americans, innocent
Yeah.
Americans, have died, and thousands more all across the world. And please, guys, do your bit. Share the content that we do. Share the work that Mr. Tahir does on Uyghur Times, on his Twitter. And this, we can put up the fight against them through the work that we do. Thank you so much again, brothers and sisters. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.